Hey, what's going on everyone? Romeo here. In this video, I'm going to give you the exact plan to use if it is your goal to learn Spanish. There's a lot of videos out there that tell you how to learn Spanish, and then they just recommend a bunch of resources that you still have to choose from. But if it is your goal to just find out what it is that you need to do, then this video is for you. This plan that I put together is based on my studies of Spanish and going through a bunch of resources and knowing which are the ones that were, at least for me, the most effective. This plan is based on 4 main resources. It's based on Complete Spanish Step by Step by Barbara Bregstein, Destinos, the telenovela, which is a 52 episode television series translating sentences into Spanish and speaking Spanish using an online translator. And it also includes flashcards so that you can actually review vocabulary that you come across and complete Spanish step by step. So let's get into this plan. The most important thing about learning any language is showing up every day. Consistency beats, the quality of anything that you do, which is why I put together this plan. It's put together in a spreadsheet and it's a tracker. And this tracker is called 1 Year to Fluency. And the reason why this tracker is so powerful is because you just have to do the tasks that are on the tracker. You don't have to think about anything else. As long as you complete all the tasks, you will ultimately spend at least 375 hours to master the basics of the Spanish language. So when I say that you're going to learn Spanish and you're going to master the basics of Spanish, I'm saying that after completing this plan, you're going to be able to speak Spanish, write Spanish, understand Spanish, and most importantly, read Spanish. All of those things are important, not just listening and not just reading, but it's a total package. And doing all of this stuff together at the end of your journey, at least for the journey in this plan, will get you to the level where you will be confidently doing all of those things. And when you are confident in the language, you have no barriers that prevent you from continuing your journey in however way you want to continue your journey, whether that is watching YouTube videos, listening to a podcast, or reading. Once you understand all the things that this plan covers, your options will be unlimited. The other thing that I must say is that I'm not promising a native level of understanding or a native level of speaking. That will only take time. But when you really think about it, as long as you master the structure of the language really, really well, it's only a matter of substituting words in the sentences that you already know. A quick example, in your native language, if you want to say, I am a boy, you really know that sentence, I'm a boy. But if you know I am a boy, then that means you know I am a girl because you know that word. If you want to say I am smart, you can say I am smart because you know that word. So then Spanish, once you master the basics, only becomes a matter of expanding your vocabulary. And as you expand your vocabulary and hear those words over and over again, then you will get faster with the language. But you have to start with mastering the basics, and that's what this plan is for. So again, what does this plan cover? Let's go into it. There's 2 phases to this plan. The first phase is what I call the first pass. It's input heavy. The second phase is what I call the output mastery, which is output heavy. But both the phase 1 and the phase 2 use both input and output. But what are in these plans? Well, if we dive into the tracker itself or the plan itself, what you'll find is, again, this dashboard. This dashboard is fed by the phases or the different spreadsheets. And each of the spreadsheets, both phase 1 and phase 2, have daily tasks. Now, these daily tasks are the things that you must do every day. But as you complete a task, these tasks that you complete are fed into the dashboard. Every time you complete a task, your number of tasks that you complete goes up and your program percentage goes up. So this is a way for me to kind of help you show up every day. And as you show up every day, you will have your number of weeks completed go up. Going back into it, as you complete a task, you will be able to record the number of hours that you spent on that task. And as you record your actual hours, for example, let's say day's one task, you're listening to the audiobook and you spent 1 hour on that task, you will put 1 hour, and that also feeds into your dashboard. So now your dashboard shows that you invested 1 hour in your Spanish studies and you completed one of the tasks out of the 240 tasks in phase one. Let's go back into it. Phase one. So let's say that you completed day's two task. As you complete the task, your day completed automatically records. Then you will also record that you spent 1 hour on that task. The second thing that you do for week one is you will complete your watching of episode 1 of Destinos with subtitles. Destinos is 52 episodes, and you can see that it actually has the subtitles as the program goes. What you will learn about Destinos is that there's 3 types of Spanish spoken. There's the Spanish that is spoken by the narrator, there's the Spanish that are spoken in a dialogue of the characters, and there's the Spanish that's spoken by the narrator of the story or the main character in the story, Raquel, the lawyer. And as you go through Destinos and they go into their Spanish, and you're reading the Spanish and you watch the episode, you're reading the Spanish that's in the episode the first time. And as you listen to complete Spanish step by step and also do the exercises and learn more about the language, you will start understanding more and more of the Spanish that you are reading, while at the same time you're listening to the Spanish that's being spoken and you're seeing the messages or the context of what's being explained. So that's what you would do with this part of the task. So you will go back in your task, and after you watch the 30-minute episode, again, you will complete that task. It will mark the day complete, and then you will put that you spent a half hour on that task. So at this point, you have listened to the audio version of Complete Spanish Step by Step. You've watched an episode of Destinos with the subtitles on. So now you go into the physical copy of the book, Complete Spanish Step by Step, and you start learning about the structure of the language. And here's my copy of Complete Spanish Step by Step. And I went through this entire book 4 times, but this will be your first time going through it. So you will have something that's very similar to what I have, which is a book full of notes and full of highlighting. The goal of the first phase is to just read the book, do the exercises, and get through as much of the material as possible within the 1 hour that you have per day. If you have more than 1 hour per day, then spend more than 1 hour per day. But the idea is to just get a good understanding of the language, get to the point where you have just enough of the vocabulary that they introduce, and be able to read the paragraphs and the stories that's also part of that book. So keep going, and you will finish reading the first chapter and you do the exercises. You can record how much time you spent on that. So far, this is only 5 days. Day 6, you will watch the second episode of Destinos. There's 52 episodes of this telenovela series. You will watch the second episode, again, with subtitles on. After you complete that day, you will put your half hour to record that you watched the episode with the subtitles on. After you complete that task, the next task in this same week will be review your Quizlet cards. Now, I already created a link to the Quizlet cards that I built, and these Quizlet cards, for example, for this week, are based on the vocabulary in Complete Spanish Step by Step, and I already have the key vocab in that chapter, which are the colors and the adjectives that they introduce. So for you, you can get the mobile version of Quizlet. You will just click on the vocab and then go through the cards as often as you want. So here's an example. Let's click on colors.
Purple.
And you set up your vocab so that you are hearing both the English, and when you click on it, you can test yourself on the Spanish. So purple, morado.
Morado.
And now, not only are you reviewing, you're hearing the Spanish spoken again. So that reinforces what you already learned. So now let's go back into the plan. Let's record our completion of the cards. We spent a half hour on that. And then the last thing that you will do, at least in phase one, is you will do translation or speaking drills. What do I mean by that? For the translation speaking drills, you will need SpanishDictionary.com and you will need the premium version of SpanishDictionary.com. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to go through all your exercises. For example, in this week, chapter 1, and you're going to read out loud the examples, just the examples that are in Spanish from chapter 1. So let me give you an example. I have the PDF version of Complete Spanish Step by Step, so I'm going to put it up on the screen and show you what I'm talking about. Complete Spanish Step by Step. Let's go into chapter 1, which introduces nouns, articles, and adjectives. As you go through the book for this last task in week 1, you can use the SpanishDictionary.com translator to say these words out loud, and you will try to read them. This is a great exercise if you've never heard the language before and you need to practice speaking and saying this out loud. Now, before we start, this dictionary or this Spanish dictionary translator is not perfect. And I haven't found any online translator that's perfect to do what I'm asking you to do, which is to speak the Spanish word and see if the translator picks it up correctly. A lot of these translators will try to translate these words correctly for you, even if you say it incorrectly, including translators like Google Translate. But the benefit of using Spanish Dictionary's translator is that it gives you enough time before cutting you off so that you can practice saying sentences that's longer than the word el amigo. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Go into the translator, el amigo.
The friend.
So I said the word el amigo. The translator understood what I said. It displayed the English version of it, so I know it's saying what I wanted it to say, and that helps me with my pronunciation. Let's go to chapter 2. So we go to chapter 2, and chapter 2 begins sentences. So in this example, you're going to be saying the Spanish version of this sentence and seeing whether or not the translator picks up what you're saying. So let's give it a try. Yo estoy en la clase.
I'm in the class.
I'm in the class. So that's exactly what you want it to do. Again, this allows you to continually read in Spanish and practice using the Spanish versions of sentences that you may want to say. That's it. Let's quickly review what's in phase 2. So going to phase 2, it is very similar to phase 1. The only thing that's different really in phase 2 is that you're no longer listening to the audio version of the book Complete Step by Step because you presumably already completed it. But what you're doing, week 1 of phase 2, you're watching Destinos episode, but this time without subtitles. And when you're watching it twice in this week without subtitles, because you have already gone through all of phase 1, you should be able to pick up at least 50% of the content. If you want to use subtitles, again, there's no rush. Use subtitles, but you shouldn't have to. Next, you're going to be rereading Complete Spanish Step by Step, but this time you're going to be translating the exercises that you've already completed in phase 1 into English. So what does that look like? You will have a document with all the Spanish exercises translated into English. So what does that look like? Again, here's an example of chapter 1, exercise 1.1 in Complete Spanish Step by Step. In phase 1, you should have done all of these exercises. So you would know that the answer to number 1, you will pick up your book and you will see that you've written out the answer to number 1, which is el amigo. It's already going to be written down. You're reading this again. And now that you know that it's el amigo, you will have another document that has the English translation of el amigo, which is the friend. This ensures that you know not just the Spanish version, but what that Spanish word actually means. So that will be the first 3 tasks of phase 2. The 4th task is to watch the 2nd episode again of Destinos, but this time without subtitles. Now, the meat of phase 2 is the speaking drills of your translated exercises. And the translated exercises come from day 3 of this phase. Once you have a document, whether it is in a notebook or it is in a online document like this, now the meat of phase 2 is doing these speaking translation drills. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to take your translated English document and you're going to translate these words. So for example, the friend into Spanish. And you're going to try to do this without looking at the Spanish answers. So again, what are you going to do? You're going to take your translated English exercises and you're going to use Spanish dictionary again to try to come up with the answer. So in this case, the friend, what is that? The friend is el amigo. So you're going to say el amigo.
The friend.
El amigo comes up. The friend comes up. Boom. That assures you that you know how to say the friend in Spanish. And then the last task in phase 2 is your Quizlet drills once again. So this is how the program works. And at the end of doing all of phase 1 and at the end of doing all of phase 2, what you should have as a completed dashboard is you should see 60 weeks completed. You should see 240 tasks in your phase 1 completion, 180 tasks in your phase 2 completion, all the hours that you invested, which is 180 hours in phase 1 and 195 hours in phase 2, and you would have earned the coveted completion phrase, which appears like this. Ya no principiante, you did it. So that's it. That's the plan in a nutshell. And anyone who does this plan will be way ahead of someone who only does Duolingo, only listens to podcasts, or does anything that is not a total package such as this. I hope this plan clears up everything that you must do to master Spanish fluency in your first year. As you can see, you can totally build out this plan all by yourself. But if you just want to get right to studying so that you can reach fluency sooner rather than later, then go ahead, pick up this plan and get started today. Peace.